Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
The Department of Health has blocked the release of information on the effect of Brexit and the fall in the pound on NHS finances. The department argued release might prejudice the Brexit negotiations. The information was contained in a report seen by a top health official, which was requested under freedom of information laws by this programme. Labour has called the decision astonishing. Our reporter Chris Valence has been doing the digging and told me what he found.
Last year, I looked at how the fall in the pound could cost the NHS. As sterling falls, imports generally become more expensive, and the NHS imports loads of kits from abroad, from high-tech new drugs to rubber gloves. The fall in the pound even means British companies that supply the NHS want to charge more, if only the NHS would let them, as Simon Talbot of P3 Medical in Bristol told me.
Well, we produce two broad ranges of products. One range is for anaesthesia, when people are having general anaesthetic and they have to be kept ventilated, and a range of other widgets, really. We are an importer of product as well as raw materials. So we buy raw materials for the production that you've just seen in our own factories, and they're already increasing at quite an alarming rate. And in addition to that, we supplement the products that we manufacture with products that we import from overseas. Pretty much all of that work is done in dollars. Well, that's an instant price increase. As soon as you try and buy new supplies, without any fault of your own, your input price has immediately gone up.
Since then, more firms find themselves in Simon's situation. Andrew Davis is from the Association of British Healthcare Industries.
We surveyed our members recently, and 60% of them came back and said that they've seen their costs increase since the referendum result.
Could all this cost the NHS? It's not clear. As firms know, the NHS is very good at resisting price rises. Estimates I heard when I looked into this range from close to £1 billion to, well, buttons. So to find an unvarnished answer, I put in a freedom of information request. I asked for any internal Department of Health reports on the financial impact of Brexit and any reports on the financial impact of the falling pound.
And the answer was what?
The Department of Health admitted they had a report covering Brexit and the falling pound, so that was a win, but they refused to give it to us. At first, officials said the information was commercially sensitive. I asked for a review of that. There was a long delay. Then 3 months later, officials decided there was now an extra reason not to hand over the report. Health Minister Lord O'Shaughnessy was of the opinion that releasing the information could discourage civil servants from giving free and frank advice and would prejudice the conduct of public affairs. Department officials concluded releasing the report wasn't in the public interest, writing,
"Release of information pertaining to the effects of Brexit on the Department of Health and the NHS may prejudice the conduct of the negotiations instigating the UK's exit from the EU."
But not everyone agrees with that.
No. Many people have memories of all the fuss that was made in the run-up to the European referendum about the financial impact of Brexit. Why suddenly so little noise? The Shadow Health Secretary, Jonathan Ashworth, told me in an email, it's astonishing that 6 months into the Brexit negotiations, the government are still refusing to be straight with the public about what the impact will be for the NHS. Dr. Sarah Wollaston, the Conservative chair of the Health Select Committee, told me she thought it perfectly reasonable for the public to be informed of the likely effect of the falling pound on NHS finances, and added she didn't think it would prejudice Brexit negotiations. The Department of Health, however, says this is all wrong.
This government is committed to freedom of information, and more data is being published than ever before. In accordance with provisions of the Freedom of Information Act, some information had to be withheld on this particular request, in view of ongoing Brexit negotiations, as it concerned market-sensitive and commercially sensitive information.
The Department of Health, and in fairness to the government, they did answer 4 other rather less interesting questions that we asked about payments to suppliers.
Chris Valence reporting.